All right, let's give the people the context, though, because I love about context. It's the NC State North Carolina game. NC State actually looked like they gave a damn and won, while we're still trying to figure out what North Carolina was doing.
Did
that
they
night.
not get invited?
So after the game, the ACC Network, ESPN crews got cameras like they always do, because all these in-room celebrations get filmed, whether through ESPN/ACC Network or the school's own social media arm, because again, the cameras are always rolling. And they broadcast this after the game.
It's been 1,460 days since those pieces of video.
All right. You and I talked about it after the fact. You were kind of like,
I don't love it.
You didn't love it, right?
No.
Why didn't you love it?
I didn't love it because I said at the time, he knows when someone's in the locker room. He knows when a camera's in the locker room.
Yeah.
There are other ways to say that. Now, do I think he was specifically calling Drake May and Tez Walker and, the backup punter a piece of shit? No. He was calling Carolina the collective a piece of shit. And the person who's going to join us in like 5 minutes literally walked home from a loss to Carolina once. So, I mean, it's a real thing when you actually live the rivalry.
Dude, so
it's a real thing.
Are you telling me that at no point Roy Williams told his group, I want you to beat those pieces of shit?
He may not have used that language.
Maybe. No, you're right. Roy doesn't use that language.
No, he swears. But
occasionally.
But I think it was more, there are better ways to do it publicly. I'll just say that. Like,
agreed.
I would even go to the point, I won't use it, but like, I feel like MFers would have been more acceptable.
That's fine.
Than pieces of shit.
And this is not the first time. This is not the first time that Dave Doeren has made it abundantly clear that they get the edge by proclaiming they don't like them. I mean, what was it? What was it the year before?
Yeah.
Where
he hearsay. The hearsay.
Yes. He's like, I don't give a damn what you say on the broadcast. I want you to know that we do not like them.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dave Doeren spent a good chunk of the latter half of his career playing the heel against the heels. We know and I think a lot of Carolina fans have seen this and gone, okay, well, how do you respond in kind? You can shut them up by beating them.
Right.
They're not doing that. Drake May engages in some rivalry talk by saying, it's a safety school. You can't get a college, go to state, all that stuff. They made that dude apologize for the most trite rivalry talk that ever existed between NC State and North Carolina. They made Courtney Bangard apologize for similar stuff on the women's side.
And I think that's where the classless comment from Mack comes from.
So this is
He wanted an apology. He wanted
he got one.
But
we'll get to that in a second. Here's Mack Brown. Again, context matters. Mack Brown, it's signing day. They're talking about their class. As Chip Patterson pointed out to me before we started today, Mack Brown could have easily sold the fact that they're one of four ACC schools with a top 30 class. I think it came in at 22, depending on the service you look at.
Sure.
Not like a gangbusters recruiting class for North Carolina, but a good one. A good Mack Brown recruiting class. Things that you can tout. Didn't take any questions.
That's the bizarre point.
Spent a third of it kind of talking about the grand scheme of how they go about recruiting and letting the general manager talk. Went on a weird side tangent about the false reporting around Kobe Paysor's injury and how they handled that. And then this.
Secondly, in our last ball game with a rival school, after the game, the head coach of that school called our players a piece of shit. And I apologize for that language, but I've never heard something like that before. And I'm disappointed. I thought it was classless. It's not true. Number one, we didn't play well in the game. We didn't coach well in the game. It's been very well documented, and I got that. But you don't call kids a piece of shit. And I've addressed it with our team. I apologize to them. These kids are one of the top academic groups in America. They got an award for AFCA's top 13.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not hear the whole thing? Is that the first time you're hearing the whole thing?
Oh, no. He went there?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you heard the whole thing.
Oh, Mac, you're the one who started FM. No.
The first thing that got me to go, wait a minute.
Oh, no.
Was that he said, I apologize to the kids. What are you apologizing to them for? Like that you didn't respond? Are you apologizing on behalf of Dave Doeren? What are you apologizing for exactly?
I didn't realize that.
And then, of course, he talks about, the academics.
They've won a Coastal Division. They've won a bunch of games. They've been to an Orange Bowl, been to 5 straight bowls.
Yes, the Orange
Bowl. They represent us well.
Yes.
And from me speaking for them and their parents, they really didn't appreciate being called a piece of shit. Never heard that before.
Never heard that before? Never heard that before. Never heard a coach fire up a team by using some things to call the other team something.
Right.
Like you said, MFers. I mean, you can use any language you want, but Look, this is where I get fired up.
Okay.
Because in the course of my career, Joe, do you know how many times I've been mentioned or emailed or somebody tell me,
You've never had your hand in the dirt.
I can tell you've never played sports, Joe. You don't know what it's like in a locker room. I'm like, nah, I got a pretty good idea of what it's like in a locker room. You talk to enough former players, you get a sense of what's going on. You talk to enough coaches, you get a sense of what's going on. So this idea that I've never heard that before. Really? Huh. Okay. Interesting.
He brought up their academic record.
That's the other thing too. So he continued.
And very, very disappointing. But it is what it is. And we'll continue to work hard to try to be better.
So that was earlier in the day. Oh, by the way, my second favorite part about the Mack Brown press conference was at the end. He wraps up. He gives props to the GM, the people who worked on the recruiting class. And we found something else that Mack Brown won't talk about. He's not going to talk about the defense.
No, it's not his job.
And apparently he's not going to talk about the recruits that are going to come play for him.
So he's just been an absolute blessing for me and for us. And I thought it would be better for him today while I'm in the staff meeting to come and address all the players with you and talk about them, because he and the recruiting staff spent 2 years on these folks. So that is it. So, yes, no, I'm not going to answer any questions today. This is just about signing day. Yep. So.
This is just about signing day, and I spent 2/3 of it not talking about signing day, and I'm off the stage. So that's how Mack Brown ended the press conference. It was very cringeworthy.
Okay, so I tried.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me sometimes I can't go full Gilio.
Go full Gilio.
No. But you tell me sometimes like
You've
it's
had
not
half a beer.
No, you say it's not productive.
True.
So with Bubba the other day, I was trying to lead him to the water.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Aaron Matson, 23 years old, wins this national championship. Keeps this thing going for Carolina field hockey. You hired her.
Mm-hmm.
Mack Brown, 72. It's fairly obvious at this point. Everything has passed him by. Why are you letting him still be the head coach of Carolina football?
I think it comes down to the way Mack Brown was hired. Do you think that Bubba Cunningham had a lot of say in how Mack Brown was hired?
I do not. I think there was a $12 million buyout for Larry Fedora that he was told we will pay if you bring this very specific coach over.
Can I give you my petty theory?
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is I feel like I failed. I feel like I failed everyone by not like saying to him, like, why is Mack still your coach?
No. That's
or is it too obvious that it's the money?
It's
always the money.
I think sometimes you and I don't ask questions because we know the answers to them and it's not worth bringing up. Because I also had that same thought too. I would have put it more in a context. We all know the end for this.
No, this was the end.
So
the game in Raleigh was the end. By not showing up, by not literally not showing up was the end.
Yeah, I agree with you. So my question to Bubba in that particular, and the one thing that I was thinking about was, all right, well, how do you handle the exit? Because you know how old coaches are. They don't want to leave.
Well, he's not even recruiting anymore, apparently.
Apparently not. The GM's the one that's doing it. He doesn't coach the defense. That's on Gene Chizik, who apparently still has a job, which I find surprising after the last 2 years.
Does he really?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Have I missed anything on a Gene Chizik job change? No? Okay, because Chip's way more plugged in than me. He's got that super secret CBS Sports Slack.
No. He's one of them. So
that's true too. That's true too.
He's got the omerta. He's okay.
Yeah, that's true. These are things we can't talk about. But no, like that whole thing with Mack Brown was shocking to me because Mack was brought back to win days like yesterday.
Oh yeah, and has
and
routinely,
the reason
regularly.
why to finish my point on the Bubba Cunningham, if we go to the obvious school of pettiness, there's a little bit of a you break it, you buy it when it comes to Bubba Cunningham. The boosters wanted him back badly. So, okay, you wanted him back badly. This is what you want. You let me know when you don't want him anymore. And then we're going to get into the business of finding another coach. I think that's ultimately what Bubba Cunningham might be kind of thinking of right now. He's probably too worried about how do I get myself to another conference at this point with the way things are going.
I mean, he's got a lot going on. I have tremendous respect for him. I think he's tremendously intelligent. I find it hard to believe that he thinks it's a good idea for Mack Brown to coach the football team in 2024.
So Mack Brown doesn't say NC State. He doesn't say Dave Doeren. He also does this before Dave Doeren's press availability. And Dave actually does take questions. And he was asked, hey, you got any response to what Mack Brown said earlier today about y'all?
Well, you should have heard what I said about myself and my own team after we lost to Duke in that locker room.
I want to stop it right there. You know how yesterday when we were recording the year in review, you and I actually commended Dave Doeren for getting a lot of messaging right this year. Mm-hmm. Right out of the gate, Dave Doeren is continuing his run of getting the messaging right. Yeah. Like, you thought that when I was talking about somebody else? Man, if you thought I was angry in the post game after the Duke game, what do you think these guys heard?
First of all, when we go to these meetings, we're supposed to get notice that there's a camera in our locker room. And that was not done. And so, I have a lot of regret that was on TV because it shouldn't have been. When you go into a locker room with your team, that is a private conversation. Unless they ask if they can be in there with a camera, and that was not asked. That doesn't give me an excuse to have that public. But that's what happened. No one told me. And obviously, if I knew I was on camera, my language would not have been what it was. Does it make it any better? No. And I did call Coach and apologize because I could have used a lot of different words, obviously. He caught me in a heat of a moment situation in the locker room celebrating a huge win. I was fired up about how we played, But I have respect for Coach, and so last thing I wanted was for him to feel that. And again, it's not an excuse, but it shouldn't have been on TV. And I think there's 1,000 coaches out there would tell you that, if we had to apologize for everything we said in the locker room, we'd probably spend a lot of time doing that. It's a place where a lot of emotion comes out, right? But yeah, I could have said that in a much more professional way and regret not doing that. What I don't regret is having passion with my players and celebrating a big win. And I'm going to continue to do that. And hopefully down the road, we'll get the courtesy that we deserve when we're going to be on TV in those moments. So, but I understand, their side of it. And, it's signing day. We'd rather talk about that.
You said you did call him already and you expressed regret to
Yeah.
Mack Brown before today? Or?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Gotcha.
So there you go. There's Dave Doeren responding to what Mack Brown said. And I think that's the key part there. Is like, yeah, man, I called him a couple weeks ago about this. So why do you think Mack Brown went about it the way that he did yesterday? By A, not naming NC State or Dave Doeren, or pointing out the fact that, yeah, no, we talked about it and we're moving on from it.
I mean, I guess he thought he was making a play that would make State look bad on signing day after losing one of the receivers that they had recruited over to State, losing the game to State, all those other things. I mean, It was a miscalculation. I didn't love what Dave said after you should have heard what we said about Duke. Like,
I didn't mind that. The camera part I have a problem with.
Yeah,
you got to know the cameras.
I don't believe it. I still don't believe it, though. Like, they literally had a former player threaten Dave recently. Yeah. So they've had to lock everything down over there. They know everybody who's in and out of the building. Mm-hmm. They know everyone who's in and out of the locker room.
Of course.
So
I said, they have their social media teams running cameras all the time.
And also, by the way, as my friend from one of my friends in the business today had texted me, like, yeah, we say no to ESPN all the time. Now he's in the SEC, and I'm like, I got news for you. You're not going to be saying no much longer because there's no difference between ESPN, ACC, ACC network. That's the conference.
Yes.
So even if Dave was like, hey, no, you can't come in here. Oh, you like those checks? That's what the money's for.
Well, I will also say this. Coaches tell their players, and they have classes on this all the time, in the age that we live in with camera phones, you have to think and you have to understand that you are going to have somebody filming you do something at all times. Yep. So you have to be a little bit careful. All that being said, all the semantics aside, I am not going to clutch pearls over the fact that a coach, after they beat a rival, was super fired up and was figuratively talking about a school that he's openly said he doesn't like and other things.
Again, he was not calling the players out. I think it's fairly obvious that he was a collective Carolina.
And I do think there's a lot of Carolina fans that are now finally seeing with Mack Brown. Some were early on it. I think a lot of people after the State loss and how they didn't fight in that game and how Mack Brown has handled this 4 weeks after the fact. Like, you now decide to show this fight? Well, we'll see what happens the next time a Carolina player or a coach says something about NC State and whether or not they're forced to apologize. Don't make them apologize. What does it get you? It makes you look bad. And for the record, another last point on this, a lot of Carolina fans are like, oh, well, State fans are whining about Drake May. No, State fans are just making jokes. Not a single soul is asking Drake May to apologize for rivalry talk.
That is literally,
that's what
if
State fans
you've
want.
ever had a conversation with a Carolina friend, the number one thing they will bring up is, you couldn't get into our school. So cool.
All the time.